This episode is brought to you by eating chips while recording. Do you ever just really need something to eat, but you also have a podcast to record? Me too. So, here I am, reaching into this bag of chips while I record my ad because I just need to eat. Sometimes self-care is having a snack.
Welcome to this week's episode of Bad Breaches. You're here with Joyston.
Joyston.
A very special guest who came up with the name Joyston.
Yes, we're really excited guest.
Hi, aka the guy who sits next to Justin, who in last episode let him borrow the contract.
Oh yeah, my hero and savior.
Yeah, hi, I'm Taran to everybody out there. That's Taran with an R-in instead of Taryn, because everyone calls me Taryn, which is not super cool, but that's cool. Everything's cool. Moving on.
Everything's cool. Is that how you're feeling today? You're feeling
Everything
cool?
Is cool.
I feel awful
like
today.
Everything is awesome?
Yeah,
cool.
copyrighted. Okay. You feel what?
Yeah, today was probably my least favorite day I've had so far, but like...
Wait, really?
That's saying something.
I know.
Are you okay? We have a planned topic, but we can talk about
Do you
that.
want to reschedule?
No, this is cathartic. This
Okay,
is
good.
self-care
Okay,
in a way.
Yes.
We care about that.
We
Joy,
love self-care.
How are you doing today, Joy?
I'm good.
Or in general, not necessarily today, but just,
I'm better than I was last week. Last week I was very 2007 Brittany. This year I'm going to put myself at like a 2018 Brittany.
Oh, she's doing great these days.
I would say I'm not great, but I'm better. I'm functional,
Okay.
which is...
So like 2010.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I'm only aware of like Britney circa 2000. So
Are you stronger than yesterday?
Probably not, no.
Okay. That was a reference. Did you get it?
No.
Okay, you should know more about Britney.
Okay.
Anyway.
Got it.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about just our journey to law school and adjusting, but from 3 different perspectives.
Okay.
So we're all kind of coming into law school from a different place. So we thought it would be really cool to like examine what that looked like.
Do you want to introduce those perspectives? So like, what is your perspective on this entire thing we're doing?
Just
Yeah.
in general.
So my perspective is I've been in school since I was 3, and I've only had summers off. So what does it look like coming straight from undergrad and not really having time to like take a break or do anything else? Tarn, what's your perspective?
My story is similar, except that it's entirely different. I graduated in 2011, so
I was in high school.
I'm ancient.
I was also in high school.
How old were you when...
Wait, how old are we now?
Oh,
Joy?
okay. I am a fresh 22.
I am a fresh in my 30s.
And I will be 24 soon. So.
And you look like you're still only 23. So.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad to know. I'll have to tell my mom that because she thinks I look old.
No.
So your perspective though. So Joy, you're like kindergarten all the way through your JD, K through JD for short. I just learned that earlier today. And then Taran, so...
My path's a little windier.
Yeah.
And I also even took like 6 years to finish undergrad, so...
Not a straight shot. Not a straight shot.
Not a straight shot at all.
Okay, that's fair.
We'll get into it.
We'll get there. And then I took a gap year where I did some stuff, but we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just start with, what were you doing before law school? I think it's super easy to knock this out for me.
Yeah.
I was in undergrad.
Where was that?
A university not to be named in a state,
in the great
state of Texas.
Okay,
I've already said I'm from Texas.
Yeah, you can do that.
So
The
I went
greatest
to
state.
the best state.
Biggest state.
Texas
Debatable.
forever. We'll die on this rock. Texas forever.
Okay, whatever.
Most counties, right?
I think
Georgia
actually has more counties.
Actually, we're gonna Google.
Georgia has
this.
100 and... Oh, let me not. It has a lot. I think it's 136. Or maybe it's 152.
Do you know why Georgia has so many counties?
Because they're ridiculous. Ooh, not countries.
Don't
That's
like that. Ridiculous? I wouldn't say that. I actually don't know why there's so many counties.
Okay,
I
so
feel like
Georgia
I've
has
learned-
159 counties.
Dang it!
You'd think like California would have the most.
And Texas has 254.
Oh.
So
Okay, so who's ridiculous now?
well, Texas is way bigger than Georgia.
Okay, but, you know,
So
is
it makes sense. That
Is
we
it
have
that
more
much bigger?
counties.
I don't know if it's...
Is it more important?
Just kidding. I don't know if it's
Okay.
bigger. Wait, how many time zones does Texas span?
I think it's one.
Oh, is it all just... it's all... Oh, yeah, that time zone feels bigger.
Yeah. Central's pretty big. I
Okay.
also could have made that up. So.
Are there any states which span more than one time zone?
Part
thought
of
it
Florida,
was states.
Part of Florida, I think, does.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think, like, part of the Panhandle is,
Oh,
like,
that's
directly
right. That's
underneath
right.
the worst state.
Wow.
Okay, just kidding. Okay, so...
Texas has 2 time zones. Sorry.
Okay. I thought so. I mean, it's pretty big. Okay.
Where I'm from.
So you went to undergrad in Texas.
Yeah.
Taryn, what were you doing before law school? So you...
Paint us a picture.
Oh, wait. Back to you for a second, Joy. So you, from Texas, went to undergrad in Texas, then moved for law school.
Yes.
Cool.
So
Taryn.
immediately prior, I lived in Portland, which is also where I grew up, Portland, Oregon, and I was in health insurance.
Ooh.
Okay.
The health insurance processing of claims, which is probably the most
Sounds super interesting.
stereotypical, like Dilbert office jobs. Dilbert still exists, right? Like,
I don't know if it still
I don't-
exists. I do know what Dilbert is.
I don't.
It used to be a thing.
I mean-
Yeah, it was
Like
like,
in the
a
90s.
Yeah, like a comic, was it like a newspaper
Oh,
comic?
okay.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
strip.
Got it. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just needed context.
But yeah, super stereotypical, kind of like The Office, I guess, is probably a more relevant show at the moment.
For
But
the youth.
for the youth,
Kind of
yeah.
appeal to the youth.
For y'all youth. I'm trying to learn how to say y'all. I think it's working.
That's
now.
getting there.
That
I
was
like
good. That was
it.
convincing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sweet. How about you, Justin?
Yeah, so I am from Georgia. I went to undergrad in Georgia, and now JD. Oh, what? Then I took. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So did all that, and then I took a gap year off because I kind of had like a quarter life crisis a little bit.
Got it.
So I like took the LSAT in September, the year that I was graduating. So I would have been like applying for law school, and going like the following year. And I didn't do too hot because I didn't take studying seriously because like I'd never really had to study for a test. So I was like, I got this.
You're like, I'm smart.
I was like, LSAT who? Like,
Right.
you know, I studied philosophy. Like, I'm brilliant. You know, whatever. So then I didn't do, like, too hot. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll take it again. So I took it in February. And I felt some type of way. Because, so by March, I haven't gotten my test back yet. Or my score back yet. So I'm like, having lunch with some friends, and I'm just like realizing that I don't want to go to law school immediately after. I'm like having like a quarter life crisis. And so I was talking to my friend, and she said, well, I'm going out of the country to teach English. You should come with me. And she kind of said it as a joke. But I thought about it for a second, and I said, that sounds great right now. So I like used that as an opportunity to escape. So over lunch, we talked about it. After lunch, I called my parents and told them, hey, not going to law school immediately. I'm going to leave the country for 10 months and teach English to children. And they were okay with it.
Talk
Very
about
nice.
impulsive.
Yeah. I mean, you know. And now I'm in law school.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess, what did the decision to apply to law school look like for you guys?
Yeah, like the process.
Right.
So.
Well, just the decision.
Oh, okay.
Like, what made you want? Like, have you
Yeah,
always
yeah.
wanted to be a lawyer?
So actually, up until I was a junior or senior in high school, I wanted to be a doctor. Like, I knew that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a surgeon. I was really into, like, I was, like, specific. Cardiothoracic surgeon, so, like, the valves, like, related to the heart, you know, all that stuff. Because my mom was, like, in the medical field, and I was interested in that. But then I took chemistry in high school, and I hated it. And I was like, there's no way I can do this for the rest of my life. So then I came to undergrad. I applied as a physics major because I liked physics in like 10th grade. So I was like, well, let's do that. That was dumb. But my first semester I switched to philosophy and I loved it. And I just thought that, I like really got into like social justice and stuff like that. And I thought that law would be a good field for following those passions.
That's so cool.
Totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
Well, okay. So my decision-making process spanned basically my entire life. So are we sure we want to get into that?
Let's jump right in.
Let's do it. You're our guest. This is our show. We do whatever we want.
All right. So my mom was in law school when I was a toddler.
Oh, okay.
So back in the 80s, believe it or not. And I sort of associated it with a lot of stress. And
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Accurate. Very astute toddler.
Yeah. And over the course of the next decade, it became pretty clear and spoiler alert, being a lawyer can really suck, especially when you're trying to pay off your student loans. So, and she was also trying to raise us while my dad was really busy with his job. So, I don't know. She basically convinced me not to want to be a lawyer, and
on purpose or just through what
through
you saw.
observation.
actually, partially on purpose.
Yeah. She explicitly said, "Don't do it."
Probably they didn't tell me not to do it
Right.
until I was coming into college and whatnot. But yeah, they were like, "Yeah, no, this is not the life you want," which was a little disheartening.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, at that point, I was like, "Oh yeah, there's all this evidence for how
Right.
you really don't like it."
And you kind of want your kids to be happy, and it sounds like your mom wasn't that happy and kind
Yeah.
of stressed. So I can understand.
Right.
At this point, I wouldn't advise anyone to do this unless they really, really wanted to.
Yeah.
And you have to know that you're passionate about the law, and you don't just think it's cool because
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
totally.
If you're oh, it's okay, I guess it's not.
Just Wikipedia that shit. If you're
Yeah.
if you're oh, that's cool.
Maybe be a paralegal. I don't know.
And my mom mostly went into it not because she was passionate about the law, but because she was passionate about the environment. Right?
Oh,
So
okay.
she really had
Got it.
a single issue for her,
Mhm.
which wasn't really my issue. So hopefully she doesn't hear this. And then in college, it turned out I really didn't like college. That might be a minority opinion, but my number one concern at all times was my relationships. And it turned out that I ended up being in a series of long distance relationships with people who weren't at my school. So I sort of just, as soon as undergrad was over, I was like, sweet, now I can go live with my girlfriend. And then
Wait,
a series
sorry.
of other things
I'm
occurred.
gonna interrupt really quickly.
Please.
So, what was your degree? What?
Oh yeah, what did you major in?
Economics, though it took me a long time to get there.
Okay, so take me through that process. What
Yeah.
did you come in as?
Because you said 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
6 years.
So
I started
freshman
out-
Taran, young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. What were you
18?
majoring in?
Did you go in as an 18-year-old?
Yes.
Okay.
I went in an honors program for classics.
Aw, I also studied classics. That's my other degree.
Yeah, I thought it would be great.
Good
So-
idea, switching.
So then I, so then I sort of dinkered around with it for 2 years, and I didn't have to know actually, so I could be undeclared until halfway through my junior year.
Wow.
And then instead of doing that, I just took a leave of absence to work. So I worked for a year and a half.
When? So in between junior and senior, when?
So after sophomore year.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah. And so then I worked in a warehouse. I sold cutlery, which was Machiavellian sales tactics.
Was it Vector?
Yeah. Did you do Vector too?
No, I just get a lot of phone calls from them. So.
Oh man, I sold all of my family knives,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I ran out of people to sell to, and then I realized it was a pyramid scheme.
That's typically how it goes.
Right. So then I worked in a deli, and then I backpacked across Europe and spent all the money I had made. And then I transferred and went straight into economics at that point. So
Okay, cool. So why economics?
economics. I just liked the logic behind it, I guess. It was like, because there's philosophy, which has all the logic, but it doesn't seem as practical, right? So like,
yeah, you're right. Entirely correct.
yeah, practical math that wasn't sciencey, because despite all the expectations, I was never actually that good or interested in harder sciences. Yeah, economics is kind of where I landed.
Okay, sorry. So, jumping back, you had just graduated and you went to go move with your girlfriend. So, after that, what happens?
Yeah, so I moved in with my girlfriend after I graduated, and then I worked at a Taekwondo dojo. I was thinking that like I'd use my economics degree to manage the business of this dojang, and then some really shady stuff happened where like people broke each other's bones, and it turns out there's like no real.
Sorry.
Not my bones, but like, yeah, some of the students like filed suits against each other, and turns out that this industry isn't regulated at all, which is kind of strange. It probably is in certain states, but yeah. And then
Was that in Oregon?
That was in Oregon.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Okay.
And then it turned out the owner hadn't paid any taxes.
Oh my gosh.
So I took advantage of an opportunity to go backpacking with my girlfriend a second time across Europe, because she had heard about my story, and then she made this plan with her friend to go across Europe, and then her friend dropped out. So I was like, well, I don't want to be in this dojang anymore, so I'll go with you. And so then I was broke again, and and in the course of that trip, my girlfriend realized they were transgender, and then I wasn't, like, we broke up, and then I landed.
On the trip?
Right at the end.
Okay. I was like,
Yeah. Which was good timing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
yeah.
So then I ended up in New York, and my mom was there. She had become a law professor at somewhere in New York.
I didn't know your mom was a law professor.
Yeah.
We're learning so much about you today.
I know.
I'm,
Wow.
I'm loving this.
I'm sorry.
No, this is
No,
good.
this
This
is
is
good.
exactly
This
what
is
we
the
want.
point.
We want interesting guests to have things to say.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Don't come on if you're not interested. I'm joking.
Humans of law
super-
school? Question mark.
I feel like I'm a lot less interesting than my story, but that's cool.
No, stop. You're definitely interesting.
We're
Thank
gonna
you.
lavish compliments on you as soon as you're done.
Excellent.
Continue.
That's what I need.
So you end up in New York. Your mom was a law professor there.
And then I was considering, next step. Maybe I've sort of drawn back into law again because, like, despite everything, my mom had raised me to, like, really enjoy winning arguments. So,
I feel that.
and I was visiting this law school she was at, and it seemed pretty sweet. But then I actually met some New York lawyers, and I was like, oh, never mind. Lawyering is awful. But I decided to stay in New York because it's just polar opposite.
Okay, so was it polar opposite of Portland or Europe?
Oh, well, probably of both, really, to be
Okay,
honest. So Portland tries to be Europe really, really bad. Or
Oh.
Canada, which may also try to be Europe. But anyway, to keep monologuing a little bit, yeah, so the decision process was kind of crazy. And so I decided no New York law, but I ended up in a comic book shop while I was also working in health insurance as like a temp. And while I was at the comic book shop, which was easily the most fun I've ever had, I met the niece of a major celebrity who lived in Westchester, which is like the poshest part of suburban New York, pretty much.
How major? Like Mel Gibson?
I cannot say.
Like Clinton?
Cannot say.
Okay, that's fair.
Can you hint? And then we guess.
Is it?
It'll be a Twitter poll.
It's Beyonce.
I'll try to think of some sort of hint.
Okay. Anyway, so you met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I met her, and then like I met her family, and her family was so much classier than I was in every single way.
Were you dating or just like?
We were.
Ooh.
You don't have to get into that. I was just curious. Like you met the family. I was like, oh.
It was a bit of a roller coaster, actually.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
It started out pretty casual. It got way too serious.
Ooh. Okay, podcast after dark.
Right?
Anyway.
So I was thinking maybe I should improve my status at that point. But actually, she was a private investigator. Did I mention that? I haven't
No, you
mentioned
haven't.
No, what?
that. Yeah, she happens to be like a really young private investigator. And I also and she's super into The Wire, which got me into The Wire. And I was like, man, The Wire is awesome. Everyone should watch The Wire, by the way.
That show has like a cult following.
Yeah, it
Like
does.
I've never met someone that liked that show that wasn't like talking about
Obsessed
it.
with it, yeah.
Maybe that should tell you something about it. I don't know.
That it's a cult. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get to TV shows.
Yeah,
Talk
so I got a really ground level view of the law through her. I investigated. I was part of her investigations a couple times. She like used me to distract people and whatnot, and it was like,
That's so cool.
this is pretty
Oh my
cool,
gosh.
actually.
Why even go to law school?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be an assistant to a private investigator.
Have you had that thought yet?
Well, so here's the thing: is that we broke up. And I don't recommend breaking up with a private investigator.
Yikes.
And eventually I went back to Portland for related reasons to try to escape some shady shit. Sorry, pardon me. I don't know if
Oh, we definitely cuss on here.
Okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
Beep.
Well, I went back to Portland. Fucking awesome Portland. And
Within reason, Tyler.
Yeah, okay, relax. The reasonable standard, okay?
and I was still kind of like, man, I need something next to do with my life because I'm almost 30. And oh wait, I just gave away what age I am, which is great.
You said you were 30 in your 30s earlier.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So
But
this
we
was
don't
a
know
couple
when
years
this
ago.
is.
Oh.
Like,
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, then soon after that, a certain election occurred, and I was like, man, I do not understand how this country works at all, and I wanted to know. So I'm actually more into the law school thing for like scholarship than like career stuff.
Oh, okay, cool.
At this point, like I've realized, because I know I have a career to fall back on, but man, I really wrapped that up very quickly.
No, that was good.
No, we're
That's
here.
good. Yeah.
We're here. Joyables. I don't know.
Yeah, Joy.
Hi. I kind of always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer from a young age. That was something that my family kind of pushed on me.
Do you have lawyers in your family, like your parents, or?
I don't.
Okay.
I've just always been like very argumentative and like level-headed.
You?
No.
Oh.
I know.
Wait, both of those things at the same time?
No,
Disagree.
like, I don't know. I feel like I was always the kid that was like talking back, and my mom would say something, and I'd be like, well, do you mean this or this? Like, which one is it? And so I got into a lot of trouble for that as a child, but it was also kind of nurtured in like a, you should go into law way.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I was grounded, so fun fact, I was not allowed to watch TV during the week.
Oh.
And I was only allowed to watch it for like 4 hours on the weekend, not for like any religious reasons, just because my mom's weird.
That's solid
Oh.
parenting.
Okay, 4 hours sounds like a long time.
On the weekend for like the whole
Oh,
weekend.
the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So is that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or just Saturday, Sunday?
4 hours at a time is long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 hours at a time is a long time. That's what I was thinking.
No. It was 4 hours total
Oh.
from Friday night to Saturday at 5, or Sunday at 5. Were you raising your hand?
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Just waving
Oh, no,
outside.
I thought you like had something to say.
Hazards of
And so I read a lot, and so when I was grounded, I would get grounded from like going outside and reading. And the only thing I was allowed to read was a business law casebook that my mom found.
That's awesome.
But I thought it was pretty interesting, I guess. So here I am. But in high school, I thought I wanted to go into medicine.
Yeah.
So I went to my undergrad as a neuroscience major.
Is
And
that
I
what you
found
graduated
out-
as? No.
No, absolutely not. I found out in my first semester that I was not good at science at all.
Was it chemistry that did it?
Okay, so I took biology, chemistry, and calculus.
Too much.
all at the same time.
Were you on meth? Or?
I was very ambitious.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I got this. I'm smart. It's fine. And the advisor was like, oh, you might want to take 2, but not all 3. And I was like, what do you know? Like,
What do you know?
right. Well, to be fair, he was an advisor that they have advisors by major.
Yeah, we have that too.
And
we had that in my undergrad too.
I don't know. He was like a geology major
Oh,
advisor,
whoa.
and so I was like, I don't think that you're like well versed into advising people for med school because there's
Not real science.
Well, no, it was just one of those things where how
It's
many
just different than bio,
geology
yeah.
majors are trying to go to med school,
True.
and I looked at all of the courses that you have to take,
None.
and it was you have to like get them all in there. So I was trying to get them all in there, but that was not the way to do it.
And so the course load was too intense, so then you went to law school.
Right. Okay. So it was a lot. I just wasn't. It's not something I've naturally been good at. I've always been a pretty good writer, and so I was watching Scandal, and I was like, oh, maybe I will like work for political campaigns and be like a political consultant.
And Scandal is a TV show.
Taryn, keep up with the youths.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it's a TV
It
show.
was.
Oh, is it over?
Yes, it's over.
Obviously, I'm super invested in it still. It was
Oh, wow.
okay. So my first semester was a lot. It was really hard to adjust. I had torn my ACL. I was on crutches for literally all of first semester. So that on top of taking that course load was just not good.
Yeah.
So I was like, I should probably switch to something easier that I actually like because I didn't even want to be. I don't want to say a real doctor, but I want to be a psychiatrist. And so that would have been a lot of work in med school. And I don't like blood or cutting things open. I think the turning point was the rat lab in biology where you had to like dissect a rat and I just didn't touch it the whole time. And I was like, maybe this isn't the career path
Did you
for
not
me.
have to do that in high school?
No, because I didn't take biology. Well, I took biology freshman year, but freshmen were in junior high where
gotcha.
I'm from. So it was, I think we had to dissect something, but I kind of did the thing where I was like, I'll like oversee everything.
I'll take a step back.
Right. I was like, I'll fill out the worksheet and answer all the questions.
Y'all do the stuff.
and
Just
you
tell me
do
what
the
to write.
cutting.
Yeah, tell me what to write. I got
Exactly.
it.
Executive work.
Basically, I think that's always been my strength.
I'm over you. Can't deal with you.
So yeah, so that's my story. So I don't know. I guess we were kind of studying for the LSAT at the same
Right.
time.
So, yeah. So I actually should have been studying for the LSAT longer. So I had like a really intense summer job, like right before I was taking the LSAT. So I was taking the LSAT in September, and so May through August, right at the beginning of my last fall semester, I had this like really intense summer job. We worked really long hours every day. So I just didn't have the time or energy to like devote to studying for the LSAT. And also I was like, your boy got it. Like, I know what I'm doing. It's, what even is this, you know?
Knowing what I know about you, were you a spy?
Was I a spy? No, I worked in admissions at my university.
Cool.
And so there was a lot of like, it was a lot. I'll tell you all about it over drink sometime because I'm still tired. But so we have, Joy, we probably have like a similar experience
I
having
definitely
to
studied.
No. I studied the second time. The second time I
Okay.
took it. But so having to balance studying with like actually being in classes at the same time. So like having classes that you're required for, like, because you know you were in school
Right.
studying for the LSAT.
See, I was I think I was more of like a slow and steady studier than most people.
So yeah, like, when did you start?
So I started the middle of my sophomore year.
Wow.
So
That is awesome.
So I took
Ridiculous.
They-
I'm gonna tell you it's
well
ridiculous.
for pre-law they like would advertise these diagnostics that you could take and they were free. They're like, if you want to take it, all you have to do is sign up. And so I knew
Okay,
at that
you were taking
point-
advantage of your resources. I understand that.
So at that point, I knew that I wanted to go to law school. So I was like, oh, I might as well take this diagnostic. So I took the diagnostic, and it kind of helped like hone what I needed to study.
Mhm.
And at least I saw the test for the first time. And so I would study like slowly and like over the breaks and things like that. But I was never studying like 40 hours a week like some
You're
people.
way more disciplined than I was.
You know.
Because I probably knew around my sophomore year that's what I wanted to do also.
Okay.
But I was like, oh, I got to sign up for this. And then I was like, oh, I need to take this. Like, I just kind of like did it when it
Okay.
happened.
Did
That's
you
fair.
Did you take a class or something like that?
I definitely did not.
I also did not. I
Did
just
you
had,
take a class?
I didn't.
I
Okay.
Googled and found a PDF.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I was in a sorority, so I got like hand-me-down
Oh, that's cool.
books from my sisters and stuff.
Cool.
But I don't think I bought like a single.
Like a supplement or anything.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you, Tara? Because we were both, like entrenched in the, even though I took a year off, we were still very much like in that atmosphere of people, like I knew people that were studying for the MCAT and studying for the LSAT and all these other things. So what was it like for you having spent some time outside of academia?
There were a lot of why questions from my friends and family.
Okay.
They're like, oh, you seem to be doing well at your job. Why do you want to do this? And I didn't really have a great answer. So to be honest, it was a lot of just me spending evenings after work going through practice problems. I think I just did practice problems and practice tests over and over again. I didn't like adopt any sort of multi-level strategy for the test or anything.
Same. Yeah, right, same.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Did y'all both only take it once?
I took it twice. So I took it once in June and then a second time in December. Also, if you're listening to this and you're prepping for the LSAT, you should definitely make use of Seven Sage's video
Oh yeah.
bank for their logic games. They have a bank that literally breaks down every single logic game on every test. So that's really helpful. I use that a lot when I was studying.
And I feel like the logic games are the ones you can get
Right.
like really good at. The
Exactly.
easiest.
I
guess.
loved the logic
Same.
games.
Sometimes I'm like, I want to just do logic games for fun.
Yeah.
Does that make
Honestly,
weird?
I did some a couple
Okay.
weeks ago.
I might do that. That
I
might be my
felt
new
bad.
self-care.
I felt dumb because I wasn't getting something like properly in civil procedure. I was like, you know what? This is something I'm good at. It.
You know what I can do?
Logic games.
Okay.
Wait, what's the actual name of that section on the test? Analytical reasoning, or is
I
it?
think so.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
because
Man,
Yeah.
I forget. It's logic games.
they're
What
logic
was
games.
your
that's
worst
what they are.
section?
I don't know, because my second one was the one in February wasn't reported,
Oh.
so they didn't send you they didn't give you the itemized breakdown
Oh, that's right. That's right.
the PDFs and stuff. So it was kind of annoying. I did substantially better the second time though.
Okay.
Same here. I just took it too
Same.
as well,
Yeah.
so we've all
Yeah.
Right.
done it twice.
So I did, yeah.
Well, the second time you're kind of over like the test jitters.
Oh,
you know what to
absolutely,
expect.
yeah.
You can not forget basic things. Like the first time I took it, I would always forget to look at my watch before the section started, so I would never know when it ended until they said 5 minutes, and that was so distracting. It was every single section. I forgot.
I know we're not allowed to talk about specific problems, that's part of the when you sign or whatever and take the test. But I know there was one. The second time I took it, there was one that no one knew the answer to.
Really?
Yeah, then it was bad, and I remember looking at it what is this?
I should have prepared you for the curve. Should have
Yeah.
just taken that question out.
Well,
Maybe I got it right because I did pretty well.
yeah.
I did badly on the reading comprehension,
Same.
and I did really good on the logic games, which I think really prepared me for law school, because we do a lot of logic games and not a lot of reading, so I'm pretty happy about it.
It basically is a logic game.
I will say that. So I'm not gonna say my score because
Yeah, we
That's-
want to do that.
annoying. But let's say I missed 30 questions on the LSAT. 25 of them would have been reading comprehension. I did substantially worse in
Wow.
reading comprehension. I would say that
Actually, now that I think about it, that was my worst section too. And I think it's because I didn't practice it, because I was like, I'm an
read.
adult. I know how to read. I know what's going on. But apparently I wasn't, because
No,
I
it was-
did.
It was ridiculous. It was so bad.
I mean, that's better for me because it is curved in its way, right? It just
Right.
doesn't take out the top
Mhm.
and whatever.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay. So I guess what did actually applying to law school look like?
So for me, I was out of the country, so I didn't really have I didn't really have the luxury of like taking time to like tour schools and to like see what things were like other places, because I was out of the country, so I was trying to do it from afar. So I ended up only applying to one school.
Just one, huh?
Yeah, just one, and it's where I'm at.
I would hope so.
So
hope you applied here.
Go university.
I think you chose well.
I think so. I really like it. I was familiar with it already, so I had an idea of what it was going to be like, and I knew a couple people that were attending this institution. But I mean, so there's like an early decision program, and I applied through that, and I actually got the call like, I think it was the day before Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
And I was really actually kind of like really missing my family, because I was abroad and I was living with a different family, and obviously they don't celebrate Thanksgiving like in Europe. So I was like kind of, run down a little bit. And then I got a call from back home. I didn't recognize the number, but I thought it was the area code for where my university should have been. So I answered, and they told me I got in, and I was so excited. And it was just a great way to like bounce me back from the slump I was in. And around that same time, I'd been thinking that I didn't really know what I was going to do when I got home if I didn't get in. And so it really just kind of like focused me. And then I had like, cool, so I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to find somewhere to live, I got to do all these things, I got to send my deposit, send my, all the stuff that happens when you get in.
Right.
That sounds very clean and neat, and like the total opposite of what I did.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Tell us about it, Tara.
I think I ended up applying to 22 schools.
Okay, same.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're the first one. I've been feeling like such a...
No. We're on the same page.
Wow.
Yeah, because did you know where you wanted to end up? Like, do you have a region or anything like that? Not that we're going to talk about what the region is.
So I had a pretty good idea, like, where I wanted to be regionally. But I kind of cast a net, like, countrywide. And
Totally.
I was really focused on rank, but also price.
Mm-hmm.
And region was kind of the last thing in my mind. But I did know that I didn't want to be cold.
Yeah. We have the exact same criteria.
Do we really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's crazy. Okay.
So ditto whatever you just said.
What did applications look like to you? I feel like I was super...
Okay, y'all can talk about this, because I only did one.
I mean, this is just like a difference, because I was in school and I was taking 18 hours, and I worked... I feel like 3 or 4 jobs. And so it was,
wow.
I had to like very intentionally carve out time to apply. And I feel like my applications probably weren't as strong as they could be, just because I was constantly doing something. It was just really hard to focus.
My applications were incredibly strong. It's probably the only way we're in the same school, to be honest.
That's hard.
The strongest. Wow, I'm like, oof. So I was working at the time. I was working in a school, teaching English to like children.
Did you just show them English movies and work on your application at that time?
Absolutely not. I was a very active teacher. Okay. We played a lot of games. Basically, my whole thing was games. I would come with a worksheet. They'd be like, no.
Logic
no from me.
No, logic games. No. They're like, is this what we're doing? I actually made my 2 6th grade classes. They had to write a play in English.
Wow.
They hated it.
That sounds terrible.
We spent like 2 months on it.
Oh my god.
No. I taught them about fairy tales. So I taught them about fairy tales, and then, so I had 2 different classes. So each class, we were talking about fairy tales, and then I made them, we talked about, like, the elements of fairy tales, like, there's a hero, there's a villain, there's usually, like, magic, animals that talk, and we made, every single kid had a part, we made costumes, we, like, wrote the dialogue together as a class, And then on my last day of teaching, we like performed it for the whole school.
That's
Oh,
legit.
that's so cute.
Yeah, so it was a lot. But so I was doing all that shit. And I also was like an au pair, so I lived with a family. I was teaching their son at home. So it was just like trying to juggle all these responsibilities and also trying to travel as much as I could. And also trying to like make time to like do essays and do like all that stuff for the application. But I ultimately feel like I was strong enough to get here, so got on.
You're strong enough to get here?
I was strong enough to get here, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess stop.
I'm just really sorry.
It's squeaking.
I'm so sorry. To our audience, I keep twisting my chair. It's because I don't have both feet on the ground. Let me put both feet on the ground.
Is there a chair that doesn't move?
I'm really sorry. I bet you can even hear on the
Then it
recording.
would creak though.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I'll stand.
we're obviously not going to say our school or state or where we are, but did you visit any schools? Did you visit our school?
So, I actually, I'm so sorry. I just keep playing with things that I'm holding. I'm like messing with my zipper. I shouldn't have interactive things. So I... Joy's looking at me across the way, and I'm like, I just moved my chair a little bit and squeaked as she like stared into my soul.
Like
So
a reverse Pavlovian response.
yeah. So I actually, this is where I went to undergrad, and I actually worked at our law school as
cool.
an undergraduate student. So I was actually pretty familiar with it, and I kind of had designs to go here since I was an undergrad.
Got it. What about you?
I visited here. I visited a ton of schools. I did a whole trip kind of across the country. When I came to this...
You like cross-country trips, don't you?
I
Twice
have-
backpacking across Europe.
I have, yeah.
Super cash.
I think I've driven across this country like 6 times.
Jesus.
Oh,
This
wow.
unknown country. This unknown region. Actually, visiting this school was the first trip I'd been to this region of the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
And wow. It met my expectations. It exceeded my expectations, I'll say.
Okay.
Really
Wait,
good
in a good way or a bad
expectations?
way?
Though-
Zero connotations.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm not gonna judge you. I mean,
Right.
we're black. So.
How do I...
If you're listening and you didn't know, Joy and Justin are both black.
And I'm not black. I'm white.
Are there a lot of black people in Oregon, in Portland?
No, actually.
Yeah, I know, it's like
this
so-
whole thing.
Yeah, it's like the whitest city in America, I think.
Yeah.
Not like, I think
Kind of-
that's like serious.
It's based on like all of this massive white flight. It's terrible.
Okay. All right, well, we'll hit that some other time. We'll have this.
Not now, John. We don't have time for that. Okay.
Anyway, this region's awesome. That's what I'll say.
Okay. I actually, I feel like I was saying this earlier. I did not visit our law school. I actually didn't step foot on this campus until I moved here.
Oh.
And I was just like, oh, wow, I'm here.
And
That's just me.
Your expectations were...
I actually like where we are a lot better than I was expecting.
Oh, cool.
Still not Texas, but it's not bad. So.
Okay. Taran, I remember what my first interaction with you was.
Yeah?
Yeah, we were coming out of class. This would have been like that pre-thing we did before classes actually started.
Oh, yeah.
We came out and you said, wow, y'all really like air conditioning down here, don't you?
Or up here.
Yeah, wherever we are. And
We're in the South.
yeah,
never said that.
we and you said
Okay.
y'all earlier, and you're like, yeah, I was trying to do that. And I was like, yeah,
Also,
because
we
it's super
couldn't be up
necessary.
from Portland.
Yeah, yeah, we couldn't be further north than Portland.
It's all downhill from Portland.
Is it?
No,
Okay,
it's not.
so South has a lot of air conditioning.
Mm-hmm. Because we need it.
We don't like being hot.
What?
It's this weird.
So hot.
You've managed to get it to the point where like I go outside and I'm just roasting, And then I'm like, man, I want to go back inside. So then I go back inside and then I'm freezing.
Yeah.
So then I want to go back outside.
It's terrible being anywhere.
Is there like a middle ground somewhere?
Middle of October.
Stand halfway inside, halfway outside, and then just turn around.
Yeah,
Honestly,
flip yourself,
like,
you know?
Honestly.
So you're cooking on one side,
Yeah.
and then you cook the other side.
Or just wear a nice jacket.
And shorts.
Yeah.
So
Bring a blanket.
That's what I did today.
here's my impression of the South based on the one city I've lived in.
I will tell you, this city is not representative of the South.
Right,
But
I know.
go ahead.
Not to narrow it down further, but yeah, massive tires. Like they're just, like,
Okay, that is
That's
representative.
accurate. Yeah.
like I don't even know how you get the tires on these cars. It doesn't seem like they would fit. But like, it's just not what I was expecting.
That's not what I was expecting to come out of your mouth.
Oh my god, me either, but it's great. It's so accurate. Oh my
Also,
gosh.
it is as humid as advertised. It's just if you don't like humidity.
Fucking intolerable. That's what it is.
Honestly, truly.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, to bring it back.
Wait. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. No. Did you have something?
No.
Okay, great. So in picking a school, because we talked about like the application process and like visiting, but when it was finally time to like pick a school and kind of commit, because I'm not a fan of commitment, like what did that look like for you guys? Were you dating anybody? Because I was dating someone. through the application
No, I've
process.
been perpetually single.
Sad.
No, but I mean, also.
if you want to date Justin, go ahead and tweet bad breaches at Twitter. On Twitter at Twitter.
Oh.
Recommend.
Oh, sorry.
4 stars.
Okay, that should have been past tense. Was perpetually single. But I also only applied to one school, so
that's right.
commitment wasn't really an issue for me. I was already.
You pre-committed.
Yeah, I was committed. I just needed the school to commit to me too. Yeah. So.
Taryn, what about you?
So yeah, the biggest consideration for me was rank and money, and then my girlfriend's from this region, which is what got me looking at
This
these-
direction.
in this direction, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much
Okay.
it.
Cool. I also was really concerned with rank and money. Money more so than rank.
Okay, I was also concerned with those things.
Were you? Because you only
Yeah.
applied to one school, Justin.
Yeah, but in this region, it's ranked
School.
highly. It's nice. It's
It's
cheaper
cheap.
than other states
Yeah.
around here,
That's fair.
and in this state.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
So
didn't
yeah.
really want to stay in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I went during the application process. I was dating someone who was also going to law school, but he's less smart than I am, and didn't get into the schools that I got into. No, he's a piece of shit, so it's okay. So yeah, so now I'm here.
Cool. So let's bring it to the transition.
Right. So
So like being here, you've kind of already talked about this a little bit, Tara, and like how you feel coming from Oregon all the way down south. But for you, since you didn't go kindergarten to JD like our friend Joy here, since you took off some time for school, has it been difficult getting back into like the swing of things of studying and having like assignment? We don't really have assignments because law school is torture, but all of that.
That would definitely require having had a swing of things at some point. You know, like I still am a huge nerd. Like I love board games. I was never really social. Like I'm a lot more social now, I think, because of New York. But like back in the day, I was super introverted. So social wise, it's just awesome because I know everybody and can hang out. And then study wise, I never really did that back in undergrad either. So I'm kind of learning how to do that now.
Do you find it easier to make friends in law school compared to undergrad?
Well, I didn't try in undergrad, so I'm not sure. But I think it is pretty easy. Like we're in contact so constantly,
so true.
and everyone's
this stew of anxiety.
Relatively mature.
It's not hard to connect the youths.
Yeah, the youths are doing all right.
Oh man. Okay, well I guess we can transition into hot takes. I'm really interested in the hot takes that Taryn has.
Taryn, you have hot takes for us? This is one of my favorite parts. This is the only reason I do this show. Is
Right.
because...
Plot twist, the show is now just all hot takes.
Hot takes.
Okay, so my first hot take is there is no way you guys are going to be able to keep up for very long where you guys are going to school, where we're all going to school. That's my hot take number one. Here's another hot take.
Okay, we're trying.
Good luck.
We should have pre-briefed these before you brought this out.
Okay.
Next, he's going to say the Earth's flat.
Hey, have you ever seen the Earth?
Okay, don't start.
Okay, so my real hot take is I think that gunners are totally misunderstood.
Wrong.
I think that gunners provide... A lot of people dislike how certain questions can interrupt the flow of a law class, but our Civ Pro class, when it doesn't have gunners, grinds to a halt that I can barely stand. She's like staring. Sorry, I probably shouldn't say that it's a she.
No,
Or
I think
No,
it's-
we
you
said
said
she
it.
earlier.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Half of the people are she's, so
Right.
more than half, 51%.
So yeah, like if we didn't have certain people willing to step up and gun for that accolade from that illusory accolade they're never gonna get from the professor, maybe things would be as even slower, and I would not be able to handle that.
But is the cost worth the reward? Is it really? Is asking completely unrelated hypotheticals? Is inserting your opinion when it is unwanted?
So that's where we where we are at the where we meet in the middle. So, Torrin, I totally understand what you're saying. Like when a professor asks a question and no one is answering it and nothing's happening, Gunnar, please step in and save us. But at the same time, by the same token, when they're they're asking questions and raising hypotheticals that don't really have to do with the subject matter at hand, that is where I draw my resentment.
I think that you can be helpful in class without being a gunner. I think a gunner by nature is someone who asks ridiculous hypotheticals and is more posturing to make themselves seem like they know more than they necessarily do. So I'm all for helpful students who answer. I'm less for people that talk just to talk.
Right. We should have defined gunner at the outset.
We should define gunner, actually.
I like Joy's definition.
It's someone who asks hypotheticals.
Well, not necessarily someone
You
that...
can ask a good hypo.
Yeah,
I love a good hypo.
Yeah, like we've had some pretty good
You
ones.
had a good hypo.
Oh.
When? No shade. Sorry, I just forgot.
Weren't you the 2-punch hypo?
Oh,
Right.
yes!
Should have added a third punch.
Yeah. No, that was super helpful to illustrate, to make a distinction like between assault and battery. Like that was super helpful. But when you make a hypo that like
Has no basis in anything that would ever happen in the real world, or is so unlikely to happen that you would never encounter that in your legal career.
okay,
Nor
relax.
do you need to know that
Okay.
as a 1L who can't really do anything anyway.
I'm actually not sure that's gunning. Here's what I would say.
Oh yeah, what would you call that? Tara,
What would
would
I
you
call
Yeah,
that? I would call that like being way too invested in your own like grasp of the material and trying to seem smart. That's fine, but like I think
that's gunning.
That's what a gunner
I
is.
think what gunners do is when someone else is struggling because they're in the Socratic method or whatever. A gunner is someone who immediately raises their hand and makes
That
the
is
other
a facet
person.
of
That's
gunning.
that's
look
part of
bad.
it.
I think that's it. I think that's all it is.
Oh.
But why? The why of why do they do that?
I think they do that. Yeah, to
Out of the
make
goodness of their
themselves
heart?
look
No.
better, but maybe they just really love the material.
I think that they love the material and they want the professor to know that they love and they think that they understand the material, which doesn't even matter because you're graded on a blind curve. What?
I think that's what is so bothersome about it. It'd be one thing if like class participation factored into your grade.
Right.
I'd be a huge fucking gunner if that was part of it. I would raise my
probably
hand for
wouldn't.
everything.
That's just not my
it would completely change the way I approach class. But knowing that it doesn't,
I think that makes it all forgiven. Knowing that they're just doing it for their own engagement with whatever, the material or the professor.
But at the expense of class time that could have been used
I put that on the professor.
Beneficial way.
If the professor doesn't know how to handle those kind of questions, I put
the professors know how to handle it, but they can't look at you and know what kind of question you're going to ask before you ask it.
Because 9 times out of 10, you have to let them get through the question.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself takes way too long.
Yes, that's also part of it. Like, whenever I ask a question, I rehearse it in my head first to make sure I know what I'm asking.
Down. And I ask after class because I feel like 9 times out of 10, my questions aren't really that relevant to the class writ large.
Yeah, I do that too. But here, one more point in favor of gunners.
Okay.
I haven't heard a single point in favor of gunners.
Well, here's my ultimate point.
Come be a guest on our podcast, and we will cut down your ideas.
All right, my point is ipsa dixit. Is that how you say that?
Ipsa dixit.
That was good. Okay. Do you have another hot take?
Any more hot takes?
Let's see. Do I have any other hot takes?
Do you have any, John?
I know I told you some things.
Okay. Well, while we wait for Taran to come up with his hot takes, my hot takes are being stressed out is not an excuse to be an asshole. Okay? We're all stressed out. This is not a good time for any of us. I don't think anyone is like, yes, I'm thriving. These are the conditions that I really succeed under. And if you are,
share your secrets with us.
Well, also, in a non-attacking way, you're probably not doing everything that you could be doing because there's no way that you could feel like you're doing everything and not be stressed. Like, we're all stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Stress is good. As long as it's you stressed, that's fine. But eustress versus distress.
Yeah, I know.
Like
I'm laughing because I
think
I'm doing equal parts.
But just, that's not an excuse to be a jerk to everyone.
Right. Especially like you said, we're all doing the same thing.
Right.
So I could, not that it'd be excusable, but say you had a significant other outside of law school.
Right.
And there's tension in your relationship because you're so stressed. That's a little bit more understandable just because you're in different parts of your life right now.
Right.
And there's a lot going on in here.
Without a doubt.
You know? But when you're interacting with people that are also in the thick of it, like who have the same requirements as you, who have the same reading assignments as you can't use that as an excuse because
just be a nice person.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Literally, I was 2007 Britney last week. The thought that I should shave my head popped into my mind.
I remember you saying that.
I was like, if I shave my head, that's 2 hours a week that I could get back. Is this something that I really want to do? That was a thing. But was I a jerk? No. I like to think that I was nice and I was engaging and I was checking on other people. And so I think that maybe if you're stressed and you feel like you're being a jerk, just use this time to check yourself and be like, what can I do to not be a jerk? Particularly to Joy. I would like an apology. This is very targeted at one person and you know who you are.
I think everyone in our section is great.
I don't. Is that your hot take? Everyone is special in their own way.
I love everyone in our section.
I wouldn't say love. I tolerate everyone in our section.
Okay, sure. Somewhere in between. We'll take the average of those two things. I like everyone in our section. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
How about you, Justin?
Any hot takes? No, I don't think so. I don't think I have any. I don't have anything prepared.
Okay.
I feel like I can come up with one.
Yeah, I was like, you literally said you had so many hot takes.
I've remembered mine.
Okay.
Oh, good. I'll think of one while you're talking.
My not quite so hot take.
I don't listen I listen to speak.
First of all, the movie Fargo is incredibly overrated. And
Overrated or underrated?
Overrated. I don't know if it could be underrated.
I've also never
the
seen
TV
it.
show, great, but the movie makes me fall asleep. Like, except for the first time, every single time. I've tried to rewatch that movie like 6 times, and I cannot get through it because it's so freaking boring. Sorry. Okay. Then my other hot take. I don't know. It doesn't feel like I'm talking to anybody.
Oh, great. Thanks, Taryn.
I'm listening.
Have you guys seen the movie Fargo?
No, we haven't seen it.
Yeah, see, I got the feeling. Otherwise, you'd be like, oh, Fargo. It's
Ben
bad.
Affleck?
What?
No.
Who's in it?
I don't know their names.
Okay, that's fine. I don't know.
Now I'm gonna look it up because I want to know. But
Cool.
you can move on to your next hot take.
The other hot take might be calling out someone. And
Call him out.
yeah, so brown noise is vastly inferior to white noise.
It's really not, and we're gonna discuss why. But it's okay. Continue.
Okay, so you know how when you're trying to sleep and you got only so many sounds which might help you fall asleep, and then you're like, oh, I'll put on some nice white noise to like, or maybe some sea sounds that have some of that white noise crinkliness in it, and then you listen to it and you fall asleep. Well, then you have brown noise, which is blaring into your ears constantly. I tried using this stuff to study the other day, and I was like, man, I wish I could take my headphones off and just listen to the inane chatter of the people next to me. So I did, and it was way better.
You can turn the volume down if it's too loud.
Right?
It's just, but then it's pointless.
Taryn's too old to know how to work volume on devices, which is why he does not like brown noise.
I can't.
Okay,
contest
so
that.
we're gonna listen. We're gonna listen. There's currently an ad, so we're gonna fill this next 6 seconds with pointless chatter. I'm so happy that you follow Bad Breaches at twitter.com right now while you're
Badbreaches@twitter.com. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter at Bad Breaches, or you can email us at badbreaches@gmail.com, which I believe is what Joy was trying to say. It's been a long day, a long week, and a long month and a half.
This is why we don't record on Wednesdays, y'all.
Accurate.
This is why we should have done it on Monday.
Hey,
Okay.
you know what?
So white noise.
We could have done it on Monday.
This isn't white noise, is it?
That is white noise.
Is this what you listen to?
Doesn't it kind of sound relaxing, you know, rushing?
No, this is like easier to.
This is the same fucking thing.
No, it's not. This is higher. You wouldn't understand.
I don't.
I listen to lo-fi hip-hop beats
Okay.
when I'm studying. It's really nice and relaxing and like calming. There's like usually not any words, but it's still like music you can bebop to a little bit.
See, I don't need that. I don't need anything that can distract me.
Okay, whatever.
You youngins wouldn't remember this, but way back in the 80s, there was this huge electronica music thing that really sucked. And I just want you to know that hip-hop has totally made electronic music awesome, and I'm super into it.
Go music.
Woo!
Woo!
Okay, so I think that we're good. We're wrapping this up with closing arguments, which is a very hot button issue today.
It's literally not. Joy is just incorrect.
Some would say it's more hot button than immigration or
The death penalty?
yeah.
One would say.
One would say. Joy would say.
Yeah.
And that is
Harry Potter.
Good or bad? Justin.
Let's start with our guest, Taryn.
So Harry Potter,
No, just good or bad?
bad.
Ha!
Where am I? Harry Potter is incredible. It's one of the highest selling franchises of all time. It's been translated into over 100 languages, I think, asterisk. Someone Google that for me.
So is McDonald's.
So is who?
McDonald's.
Super successful business.
Doesn't mean it's good.
Tell me something, why is Harry Potter bad?
Okay, Harry Potter is actually incredibly annoying.
Whom? Harry Potter himself?
Yeah, Harry
Okay,
Potter.
great.
He's
Fair enough.
annoying. It's just
Are you talking about the person or the
I just
entity?
could never get into it. It was not something
She
that I
doesn't-
was like interested in.
So you don't like wonder, magic? You don't like the idea that light can triumph over darkness?
No.
Good over evil?
No, I think I'm a very dark person in general, and I think that I would argue that I'm a realist, and Harry Potter's dumb.
Have you seen a movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I will say that I typically don't empathize with main characters in any movie.
Huh.
He was abused.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad you've been listening to the last episode of Bad Breaches.
Joysten is now no longer a thing.
Yeah. So what?
I have a completely different.
Yeah.
problem
Let's
with Harry
see
Potter.
what Taran's problem is, because maybe it's reasonable.
So one of my names is in Elvish. It's from Tolkien.
Okay.
Because my
Can't-
dad's like
can't talk to him,
the uber
obviously.
nerd, right? So like the fact that everyone thinks that Harry Potter like brought the idea of like kids doing magic stuff and wizards and witches and whatnot, like it's the numero uno. Man, I grew up on all sorts of wizards and whatnot, Dungeons and Dragons. So like I feel like Harry Potter just basically ripped off a bunch of stuff.
I'll also say that there's not that much like complexity in it, in the fact that like it's either you're good or you're bad.
Nope,
and
incorrect.
there's-
Incorrect.
Okay.
How many books did you read?
I think I read like 4 of them.
Okay, so the complexity of the books directly correspond to the age of the main characters. So the last book...
So I have to read the last book for it to get good?
That's not what I said. They're all good. They're all good.
To you.
The author, J.K. Rowling, she
Problematic.
created this world where the smallest details in one book come back to be important in the final book.
That's just good writing. I don't think
She's a
we
good
should-
writer.
I don't think we should praise that she can write because she wrote a book.
She wrote 7
Okay.
in this series, and she's written a couple more.
You know, Twilight was a series, and that
And it was
wasn't
bad.
good.
It was not written well.
That also had a cult following. So.
Yeah, because that's different. I grew up with Harry Potter. I was...
Okay, so that's why it's good. It's
I
like
was the same-
nostalgic. It's not good because it's
No,
good.
it's still good. It's good. It was good when I was young, and it remains good.
How would you know that?
How do I know that? I experienced it.
Yeah, because you experienced it when you were young.
I haven't
and
heard
you grew
anything.
up with it.
I haven't heard anything to point to why it's bad. You don't like the character himself.
It's derivative.
It's derivative from what? Just think about the audience. Who was Tolkien writing for? Was he writing for children?
I think he was mostly writing for really racist people.
Agreed. But older people, like the content of Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, all that isn't written for young people. So like the first Harry Potter book, the language and the complexity is for an 11-year-old because the main characters are 11. And then you get to grow with them. So I remember getting them when I used to get them like for my birthday every year. And the reading level would increase as I was getting older. So the later books match the complexity of the people within them. And I think that's a very clever way to write because the author isn't changing complexity as a person.
Hopefully she's becoming a better writer.
She is. But I mean, it's not like she herself was 11 years old, so she was writing on the level of 11-year-old and then 12 and 13. She had the foresight to change the way, change the mold of her books so that you're following the same characters, you're following the same story, but you're understanding it through the lens of someone slightly older. It's brilliant. The more you read them, the better you are as a person and the better they become.
I think
convinced.
that what?
I'm convinced.
I'm not. I think that is only really applicable if you're reading it as an 11-year-old and growing up with it. Like, I don't think it's one of the things where, there are books where you can read them when you're 11 and read the same book when you're, 25 and it, changes and it's more complex. You know what I'm saying? I don't...
Yeah, I get something more out of it every time I read it.
Okay, but, in what way?
What do you mean?
So
I notice... I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. I'm just saying, what do you notice now that you didn't notice when you were 11?
I noticed the small details. So
come back to play in the later books.
yeah. So I mean, something so insignificant. I wish I had my friend Brittany here. She knows literally everything. Shout out to B. It's just incredibly small details that come back to play literally years later. She built a world that is also, I'm not, hold on, we'll get there in a second. She built a world that's like huge and interesting and complex, both like politically and personally with the characters. Also, caveat, in recent years, a lot of people have grown to dislike the author because she's like
Problematic.
She's problematic. Dumbledore's gay now all of a sudden, and why was that not in the books? I agree with those things. I'm not saying that she's perfect. I'm saying that I love the
You're
work.
a texturalist.
Yeah, textualist.
Do you guys worry that maybe you save the most contentious part of the podcast to the end, and then everyone's angry or sad at each other, and it's just going out on a low point?
No,
I don't think so.
that's how
I think it's
life is.
cathartic. I feel good. I feel good to talk about something that's not about law school at all.
Also, if you disagree with us, feel free to shoot us an email.
Joy.
Or
Or tweet us.
Justin.
Yeah, I know. I mean, or tweet us your opinions. We'd love to know if you have a favorite Harry Potter book. Love to know if you have a least favorite. I'm really
If you have
curious
a
about
good
that one.
alternative to Harry Potter books.
What did you read when you were young? Did you have like a series?
I ran the gamut. I read a lot of different.
I read a lot too, but did you have any like a series like?
No, I'm not a series person.
Oh, okay, that's
I
interesting.
like when books end, and they like end.
I like books.
Like no, not like when
No,
they end, but
yeah,
when you're
yeah.
like, oh, that's good, like that's closure. And then sometimes you like can wonder like what else happened, or you can like reread it. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's good. But I think it leaves like a lot more up to you to like get more out of it.
shout out to Dragonlance.
Dragonlance. I don't think I've ever read that. I liked the Narnia books.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like those either. It might be the fact that I just don't like fantasy. I'm not a person that has ever been able to like suspend disbelief for long enough to
No.
like.
No, that's my whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what makes you two so great together.
Yeah. We complement each other.
Joyston.
Joyson.
Okay. I think that's it. Tara, do you have any questions for us?
Oh, yeah, so I was just wondering, as the youth, if you could tell me,
The resident youth.
like what a hater is, and if it's supposed to be taken seriously. Like, I have this vague feeling that maybe people assume that it's an insult, but it sounds like kind of a pretty lame insult. And so I was just
By
curious.
like vague feeling in people, do you mean you? Or like
I'm not a hater.
Yeah,
No.
but are you the one that
I
has
see.
the idea that like a hater is like a lame insult?
I do. But
Okay.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
I don't necessarily think you're wrong.
no.
Like if someone called me a hater, I would not think that was like serious.
I don't think I've ever used hater in a serious context.
Never have I ever.
So if I was like, Taryn, you're a hater, it would be more of like, you were like, Joy, why do you go out and get lunch every day? Just...
Yeah.
It's
It's kind of in jest.
You can
Yeah.
you can afford to go out every
I
day.
can't. I don't want to talk about it.
She does it anyway. How much did you spend on sushi? Never mind.
Oh.
We'll leave your finances out of it.
Please stop asking me to go out to eat.
Spend way too much on coffee.
She's weak. Yeah, so I would, if someone called you a hater, Tarin, shrug and laugh because it's not a serious thing.
It's not so much me, but I hear it called out in the media all the time, and I'm not sure.
Oh,
It's like,
see, okay, you
Like-
should have asked us, not as youth, but as,
Old people
yeah.
use haters.
Old people probably mean
Your
it
contemporaries,
seriously.
if you will.
Contemporaries. Yeah, so if someone said like so and so was a hater of some political figure, for instance, I think they're trying to like dismiss what they're saying as they disagree with him fundamentally or her fundamentally.
Right.
So you can't really listen to anything they say. So I think
Yeah.
it's used dismissively
It's like
when it's
an
used
ad hominem.
seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
it's not really an insult. It's more like, well, I don't know.
I mean, I
It's
wouldn't-
weak.
Yeah, it's weak.
Which is why it's been used as like a joke.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Amongst
saying?
the
Because it's
youth.
not super strong.
Right. But I think if you're talking about like on like news media, if you're like watching some kind of political show or something and someone referred to Joy's just a hater of Barack Obama or whomever,
Wrong.
Okay, yeah, that was just I think they're using that to just dismiss whatever point Joy is trying to make. Because that's easier than coming back with like a rebuttal argument.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on there.
Do you have any more
Thank you.
questions for your youths?
Let's.
You don't
Not
have
really.
to. We were just
Yeah,
curious.
I was wondering. No pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if
That's
not,
it. That's all for me.
thank you so much for coming, Taran.
Oh,
We're
thank
so
you for
glad
having
So
me.
good.
Here.
Such a good time.
Hopefully we come up with a good title to the episode.
We already did.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, I forgot about that. Taran came up with a good title of the episode, so be on the lookout for that.
You've already seen it because you clicked on this episode.
Okay, yep. Time is weird. Be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. Super important.
We have been called the Ellen of podcasts.
Yes,
I've
by
heard
our
that.
friend.
So whatever you come up with, just know the bar is very high.
Yes.
I'd like to maybe become Oprah.
And I like to become bruh.
Ooh.
And I could be Dr. Phil.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, thanks, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.